Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's webinar, Tax Season Marketing 101. My name is Damien Greathead, and I'll be presenting today's program. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to type those in the question bar, raise your hand, and we'll do our best to answer all the questions as they do come up. Also, if you have any questions following the webinar, please make sure you give us a call or send an email over to us at 2020. But tax season is just around the corner, and it is a phenomenal time to be a CPA. What we do know is that tax season is possibly the best marketing opportunity for an accounting firm. There's a lot of anxiety associated with taxes. There's also a lot of missed opportunity from an accountant's perspective, where we're missing out on a great time to attract new clients. One of the reasons why is accountants typically stick their head in the sand and try to avoid at all costs bringing in new clients, because they're so focused on getting the work done, getting the work out the door, that they don't think about the possibility that other individuals and businesses are dissatisfied with their current CPA and are looking for a new CPA. So that's why we think tax season is the best marketing opportunity for an accounting firm, and we really want to make sure everyone in the firm has the attitude that business is great and we're looking for more. Let's get rid of that four-letter word that is busy, B-U-S-Y. We've got to get rid of that and focus on everyone being a part of the business development process. So today we're going to focus on looking at what our growth goals are, and then we're going to look at some of the marketing activities that probably fall into a more traditional marketing mix, and direct mail, newsletters, networking, and websites are the main ones we'll be focusing on today. And in our next webinar, Tax Season Marketing 201, we'll be looking at some of the web-based platforms, social media, and how we can integrate them into our marketing plan to get a much better reach across the World Wide Webs. But today, focusing on the more traditional activities, and we'll go through those one by one. Before we get into any marketing activity, we've got to ask ourselves, what is the goal? What do we want to achieve? Let's not start marketing without even giving some thought to where we're going to deploy our resources, to what are the types of people we're going after, the types of customers we're going after, what are the types of services we're promoting. So before you do anything, take some time. It might be 20 minutes, it might be half an hour, it could be 3 or 4 hours, where we look at what our growth goals are in terms of our revenue goal, our client acquisition goal, our average transaction value goal. Let's have an end point, because it's difficult to start a marketing activity with a goal of growth in general, because we don't know how well we're doing. Whereas if we break our growth down into a dollar target, a new client target, an increased average transaction value target, that really helps keep us accountable, and it also helps provide feedback to everyone that we're on the right track, that we're doing the right things. And if we're not moving towards our goal, then we might need to adjust. We might need to change some of those activities to get us back on track. So think about the components of growth within your firm, because when we talk about bringing on a new client, there's new individual clients, there's new business clients. We've also got to think about cross-selling to current clients. So how do we increase our current average transaction value across the board? And then once we find out what our goals are, we can then have a look at what our budget is, because we do have to obviously spend some money to make some money. But if our growth goal is, say, 50,000, that's going to require a different budget to someone who has a growth budget of 150,000, for example. So let's start with what the goal is. Let's make sure they're, as always, specific, measurable, attainable, they're relevant, and that they're timely. So that SMART acronym, which we've used several times before, let's make sure that our goals are SMART, and then let's look at what our budget is and make sure that they match up. Often we go into a firm that wants to have huge growth aspirations, but that not necessarily accompanied by the appropriate budget. So we will discuss budgeting as we go through. Let's, before we get into the key activities, a bit of a commentary in terms of what we're seeing with growth. Following the last couple of years, which was fairly stagnant across the board, we're seeing now firms starting to enjoy between 5 and 10% growth. These are the higher performing firms where we're looking at probably the top 25% of the 2020 membership group. They're looking at 5 to 10% growth on last year. There are some outliers there. Speaking to one member, he's looking at 17% organic growth, but he's very aggressive from the marketing standpoint. So 5 to 10 is certainly what we're seeing, and it certainly is achievable. But again, we've got to have a strategy, we've got to have a plan, and we've got to have a budget. So once we've done some strategic thinking about what our growth aspirations are, let's now look at some of the activities which are going to generate that new business. And so first we're going to focus on new clients. And for our small CPA firm, direct mail consistently has one of the strongest return on investments. A lot of people have bad-mouthed direct mail, but done properly, we know it can bring in a large amount of business. And when we're looking at individuals, direct mail is one of those. Now, some people say, well, we don't necessarily want to bring in a lot of new individuals because they're often price sensitive and one-times. But we can talk about how we weed out some of those, some of the riffraff, let's just call it that. And then also, we love individual clients because it's a good opportunity to talk about our wealth management services. So while not every client, every prospective client that picks up the phone and calls, they won't necessarily all become new clients. But our experience last year was about half of them came into our office asking about financial planning, wealth management services. And so that $600 tax return becomes a much bigger client in the whole scheme of things. So let's talk about direct mail. For it to be successful, it has to be consistent. We've spoken to a number of firms who tried direct mail and it didn't work for them. But when we've gone back and had a look at the process, we've seen that they sent out one letter to 1,000 people. Nobody called or nobody picked up the phone. There was no response. So they quit the rest of the system or rest of the process. And we've got to avoid that at all costs because we've got to think about marketing as this drip campaign. We have constantly to be dripping on our prospective clients, reminding them of who we are, reminding them of our value proposition, reminding them of our logo and our brand, and reminding them to, for example, in our office, keep an eye out for us on the Highway 101 because we're not far, because we have a lot of traffic going past that sign, and it's a great opportunity just to drip on people one more time. Depends on the research that you look at, but some of the analysts or marketing researchers are saying we've got to drip on a prospective client anywhere between 7 and 22, 23 times before they actually take notice of us. Certainly 20-something times before they pick up the phone and are encouraged to do something. But we've got to look at how do we get our name, our brand, our value proposition in front of them 15, 16, 17 times so that they start to recognize us and associate us with our service and value proposition. And so you'll see in our homeowners campaign that it's a process that we follow. So for new clients, when we're looking for individual returns, good individual returns, and I think that's important to stress, we're not the cheapest individual return, we're looking for good individual returns. We have our new homeowners campaign, and so what we do is we go out to a company called Homeowner.org, and that's Homeowners Marketing Services, and they specialize in building lists just of new homeowners. And we're looking at about a 93% penetration rate. So we only get about 5 to 6 or 7% return rate, which I think is pretty good compared to the rest of the industry. But we go to Barry at Homeowners Marketing Services and say, Barry, we want new homes within a 15-mile radius of the office over a value of $600,000. So then Barry will, for free, run that list, and he'll come back to us and say, Damien, we've got 700 names in that list, and this is where and then he'll give me the price for that. And this is where I have to go back to my budget and say, well, I've actually got a little bit more, I've got either more money or less money, and then I can either tell Barry, yes, we'll just take the 700 names, or Barry, I'm looking to get that to 1,000 names based on my budget, so let's either drop the house value maybe by 50,000 or increase the radius up to, say, 20 miles. And that's going to help us build that list of 1,000 prospective clients. The good thing is we've been doing this for a couple of years now, so we're just collecting those names over the next over the last 3 years. So now this year we'll have 1,000 names in that list. Last year we had I think about 700. It was a bit of a lean year, and then the year before that we had about 1,000 as well. So now, as you can see, we're getting closer to about 3,000 names, which in effect, with returns and everything, is about 2,500. But those people in the previous years, I hope, are starting to recognize our name and our brand. And I know that because we have received calls this year of homeowners from year one saying they got our mailings over the last couple of years. So that's the process that we go through just to get the system set up. And so let's have a look at what actually happens as a part of the new homeowners mailing campaign. Letter 1, it's a welcome to the neighborhood. Quick tip, make sure you're using your good letterhead, your good envelopes, because for many this is the first impression. Often some people will try and go the cheap route and do it on a low stock paper with maybe black and white, just black ink, and I think the recipient sees through that because we are looking for good returns. This is just welcome to the neighborhood, and as you can see, we've been here for 26 years and we think there's nowhere like it. It's a fairly brief letter. We get our value proposition in front of them. It's not what you earn, it's what you keep. And we work with lots of individuals and families here in Marin to help them minimize their tax bill and build their wealth. So you can go out at the end of each month and get a list of the new homeowners each month. That's a bit of work, and we try to avoid work at all costs. So we just call Barry around this time of year at the start of the fourth quarter and say, Barry, who are all the new homeowners for the last 9 months? And the reason that we do that is because a lot of these listing companies will charge you a setup fee to run a list where they have to go through and set the parameters of the data that it's got to sort through. So if you do that 10, 12 times in a year, that's obviously going to add up. Whereas we just send one letter in October, which is the Welcome to the Neighborhood letter, on good letterhead. And it does help as well because if somebody may have moved in, let's say in February, March, and they got a letter in February or March, they're not going to hear anything from us until letter number 2. So there's going to be a fairly big gap in there between when they first see our name and then when they hear from us again. So depending on what you want to do, and if you have other mailing pieces to sit in with this campaign, you might choose to get the list at the end of each month, at the end of each quarter, or as we do in our CPA firm, we just do it at the start of the fourth quarter. Welcome to the neighborhood, and we'd be delighted to meet with you for an initial consultation, no obligation. So that's the first letter. Second letter, this is where we talk about tax planning. And now is the time for year-end tax planning, and for the first half hour it's free. So that's very bold, upfront, right in people's attention. That's going out to all of the new homeowners. And we brought up the fact that they're a new homeowner and this may have some tax implications. We've also reinforced our value proposition. We run an efficient office, our fees are competitive, and work is completed promptly. And I think that's really what clients are looking for. It's not your years of experience or graduating magna cum laude. It's that we turn work around on time, our fees are competitive, and we're here all year to answer your questions. So let's not actually get into the issues that they should be thinking about for tax planning. Just offer the idea of tax planning for a free half hour, really just focusing on they're a new homeowner, so there may be some implications. We've got a PS there, which is welcome to a copy of our Successful Business Kit, which is a comprehensive guide to financial, tax, and accounting information for small businesses. So what we're trying to do here is emphasize that we help business as well, because often a lot of people that move into town they might be moving a business with them, or they might be thinking about starting up a business in the area. So we're really just getting in front of them to say, if you are thinking of starting a business, we can help you with that too. But here is the second letter, which is tax planning, and we've got to make sure that there's no worry about fees yet. We're just talking about a first half hour of tax planning, and honestly, for some folks, that may be all they need. So hopefully, this is it's just encouraging them to pick up the phone and to ask a few questions. So that's for the new homeowners. Now, we also send out this tax planning letter to all of our clients and prospective clients. So this is where the ones that from years 2 and year 3, those new homeowner campaigns, this is where they sit in and get started on this the marketing campaign. First of all, got to send this tax planning letter out to all of our current clients. This year more than ever, there should be a little bit of anxiety around what will be happening January 1st. So this is a great opportunity to raise those anxiety levels, encourage clients to come in and talk. And we know that when you get in front of your clients, whether it's at their place of business or at your office, you typically have a great opportunity to cross-sell, and you can come away with more work. So get this tax planning letter out to all clients. Obviously, we have to change the as a new homeowner, but we can just be talking about it. We're coming to the year end. Tax changes kick in January 1st. Why don't you come in and have a free half hour? And honestly, that might be all you need, but we just want to check in with you just to let you know what's going on and see if there's any ways in which we can save you paying some tax this year. And one firm I know that used to offer tax planning on an ad hoc basis. They took our advice and wrote out to all of their clients, and were astounded with the response rate. First year, 50% of their clients replied to tax planning, and that first half hour was free, which I know a lot of people were a little bit stressed by, but the cross-selling and upselling of services paid for that many times over. So let's make sure we send this tax planning to our new homeowners. Let's make sure we send it to all of our prospects and all of our clients, because again, this is just another reason to drip on them and get our name in front of them. You'll see we've got 2 signatures on this letter, Kristen Fredrickson and Tara Crawford. Let's make sure that we sign these rather than just use coloured ink, because again, first impression, we want to make sure people think we've taken the time to sign these letters ourselves. We haven't signed them. We've either the mailing house has signed them, or our marketing assistant has signed them on our behalf. You'll notice also we have a male and a female, and some of the psychology behind that is sometimes people prefer speaking with a female, and sometimes people prefer speaking with the male. So if somebody does make this phone call, they can either speak to Christian or Tara, and they can ask for either or. So that's just some of there's a bit of psychology in there that just encourages people or puts people at ease that there are options in terms of who that they can speak to. Now, if you're a sole practitioner and you don't have a male or a female, there may be the office manager. They might be able to go down. Maybe somebody else in the office. If you don't have the two, don't be too worried by it. But if there's a way in which we can get 2 signatures on there, even if it's 2 women, 2 men, at least there's an option in terms of who they can speak to. So just think about that as we do write the letter. Now, if nobody responds, if none of the prospects respond to this letter, don't worry. But we've got to keep going with the program. And this is where we get to our third letter. So tax planning goes out towards the end of November, early December. Letter 3, which is enclosed, is your free tax organizer. That goes out towards the end of January, hopefully landing about the first week of January, first week of February, sorry. It's interesting. The reason typically we used to send this out early to middle of January to try and get on those folks that are organized and also try to encourage people to get into our office sooner. However, what we found is that those people that had all their stuff or their paperwork ready to get started on their taxes at that time were pretty simple tax returns. they might have just had a couple of W-2s and an interest statement, and a 1099 interest, and that was it really. There's not real great opportunity to get a good return off those clients. So we pushed our free tax organizer letter back to the end of January to land in early February, and we just found the quality of clients did increase. The first couple of K1s were coming through. We've got the dividend statements, etc. So they just had a little bit more complexity, and also because this is our opportunity to cross-sell wealth management, they had we just found that they were a better candidate. So here's the letter that goes out. Enclosed is your free tax organizer. Some people, some firms, their line is call for your free tax organizer, and this is the wrong strategy whatsoever. We just enclose the organizer with a couple of business cards and with the letter. So this is to help you organize your tax information and make sure you don't miss any important deductions. So it's telling them why we're including it, and then we go on to talk about ourselves and what we can offer. Here we come out and put our money where our mouth is and say, we'll have your return completed within 7 days. And for a lot of people, that's a big thing, to get their return completed promptly. In this letter, we've identified that the recent purchase of a home undoubtedly complicates your return. So just check in terms of who you're sending this to. So again, we would be sending this letter to our new homeowners. There would be a revised version that would go to all of our other prospects. And then also we send the tax organizer out to all of our current clients. We actually send 2, and that goes along in the pack with the big Lacert organizer. So here is our tax organizer. It's 4 pages. It covers all the key information that we need just to help people get organized. This isn't necessarily what we use in the tax preparation process, but it's more so about helping the client or the prospective client organize their information. Now, for our current clients, we include 2 of these organizers with their traditional 162-page Lacert organizer, and on each of those tax organizers is a little sticky note that says, if you know of anyone that would need help preparing their taxes, please pass this along to them. Thanks, love, Chris. So that's really helpful in helping to train our clients be ambassadors for us and refer us and introduce us, recommend us. So if anyone is lamenting to their friends that their current CPA is not doing enough for them, hopefully these marketing activities and this tax organizer will prompt people to recommend us, pass our name along, and help us grow our firm as well. This is really important here again, because this is in front of prospective clients. We've got to reinforce what our value proposition is, and our tax prep fees are competitive, and we'll gladly quote you a fee over the phone. That's really important. And you can go on to the 2020 website, and on our website, which you'll have access to our iShade group, where you can download this tax organizer. I'd recommend you probably take our name out, put yours in, your contact details. But you can download the tax organizer, you can download the tax planning worksheet, and that will just help meet the requirements of what's being said, of the text at the top of it. But again, it's a Word document, so you can go in and change those. What we want to do is just in 4 pages, we want to collect information, we want to raise anxiety, and then we want to make sure that our name is front and center when people start to think about getting their tax work done. Interesting thing we did a couple of years ago, and this was really just from a branding standpoint, because we got a new sign on the 101, so we thought this would be a good option. What we did was we inserted this 4-page tax organizer into the local Pacific Sun newspaper. So that's just a local free publication, fairly inexpensive, and we said we want these 3,000 brochures to be inserted into the February 1 Sunday paper, and we had a number of people that did didn't necessarily become clients, but a couple of people did say, not that we saw your ad in the newspaper, we saw your organizer in the newspaper. So I think that's an interesting thing to try. And again, all we want to do is just get this organizer and our name and our brand out to a larger community. As I said, the ones that from the Pacific Sun, they didn't necessarily become clients, but it's nice to have people calling. It's nice for the phones to be ringing, and it's nice for us to say, actually, you're probably better off going to an enrolled agent up the road, or this would be a better use of your resources. So here's that 4-page tax organizer, and jump on our website and you can download that. New homeowner number 4. So this goes out in March 1, and this is where we're talking about it's tax time. So we've sent you the tax organizer to help you organize your tax information and make sure you don't miss important deductions. We hope you find it useful. Offering a 10% discount, get in here. Our fees are competitive, and this can go out in a postcard, can go out in a letter. If it is a postcard, let's go oversized so we make sure we get their attention from the get-go. Then the final postcard, this goes out April 1st, and this is the postcard we use. We've got the word of the day being deadline. There's still time, but you must get in here now, and then call us today for an over-the-phone quote. It's interesting, April 1 through April 15 are phenomenal times to be marketing, and so many CPAs don't return calls, are rude at that time of the year, you can't get through to them. So we do have a lot of people calling and saying, well, you're the third CPA I called, and you're the only one that either returned my call, answered the phone, was nice, was able to quote a fee over the phone, and we have had some success. A lot of these people are fine with actually going on extension. We've had calls April 10, and we've said, to be honest, we probably won't be able to get that return done. We will be required to put it on extension, but we should be able to get it filed fairly promptly following April 15. Just wanted to make sure you were aware that we may not be able to turn it around in time. Managing expectations, and 9 times out of 10, the prospective client is saying, you know what, that's fine, I dropped the ball, so let's schedule a time, get everything moving, and I'm happy for us to be on extension, and we'll get it done by the end of April at the latest. Interesting, on the right-hand side here, we see the flip side. See what others are saying about us on Yelp. And we'll be talking about Yelp.com on the next webinar, but we get a number of calls from Yelp, and I would encourage you to check that out and check out next week's webinar as well. So that's the direct mail campaign to new homeowners. And again, this, for good quality individual returns, this has been very successful for our firm, and I know a lot of firms that have been very successful with it as well. So let's just make sure we follow the program from start to finish. Keys to success: stick to the plan. If you have budget constraints, narrow your focus, not the number of pieces. So if we need to bring that number down from, say, 1,000 down to 750, let's do it that way, rather than, instead of the 5 pieces, we'll just send 4, because I want more drips on people to get them recognizing our name and recognizing our brand. From a budgeting standpoint, you'd probably be looking at about $1 per piece, which includes the letterhead, the envelope, the postage, and the fulfillment. Now, a couple of ways in which you can get direct mail done. You could hire an intern, and with all the letters out of the Accountant's Direct Marketing Kit, you can also go online into the iShare group to download the letters that we used in the tax organizer. You might just get an intern to come in a couple of times a week to do that. You could also just call a mail house. So just plug into Google local mail house, and then they'll provide you with quotes to print the letter, to stuff the envelopes, to mail the envelopes, etc. And then they'll have different options that they can print the letterhead, you can provide the letterhead. So a number of ways in which you can do it very cost effectively, and feel free to give us a call and we can help you out with that. Direct mail to current clients. I've got to be honest, one of the key direct mail to current clients that is so often overlooked is just saying thank you. And this is where we make sure that we feed the goose that lays the golden egg, just by saying thank you. Now, here is a thank you letter that goes out to all of our clients 5 days after their return is completed, picked up and paid for. And as you can see, thank you for giving Frederickson & Company the opportunity to do your tax return. If you know of anyone else who needs help, have them call me. And for each new client that we get, you'll get dinner for two at the Avenue Grill in Mill Valley. And these go out 5 days after the tax return is completed, and it is a phenomenal way to really drive referrals. The good thing is our marketing intern is writing those thank you cards now, so that it doesn't require anyone's involvement, anyone's input when we're really into busy season. Tried not to use the word busy, but I couldn't think of anything else. So we're having people write thank you cards now, and as I said, it really drives referrals when we send a thank you card with 2 business cards 5 days after the tax return. So it just emphasizes that A, we're saying thank you, and B, hey, if you know of anyone else, please give us a call. And just remind them that we quote over the phone, we turn tax returns around quickly, we're friendly, we're fun, we're efficient, and it does make a huge impact. And I know a number of firms who just wrote welcome letters and thank you letters. Their referrals were up 30–40%. So it does work when we say thank you. So let's get those notes written now. As I said earlier, tax planning letters, keep it simple. I checked out some of those AICPA letters that really went into detail about what people should be thinking about when it comes to tax planning. A couple of things there. Now, first of all, we don't want to give away all the information, because if we write the letter and says, here's what you need to be thinking about, they don't need to come in and see us. Second of all, the likelihood of them getting through all of that AICPA jargon is highly unlikely. So what I would encourage you to do is just keep that tax planning letter as simple as possible. You might identify a couple of key legislation changes which may raise anxiety, but let's not get into the real detail of tax planning. All we want to do is encourage them to come in and talk to us. Offer it for free. And as I said, that firm out of Georgia, the free hours of tax planning have paid for themselves many times over based on the upselling and cross-selling opportunities that have prevailed. As we said, add that short form tax organizer to all correspondence and get writing those sticky notes now. It might be, hi Bob, don't even worry about the salutation. It's a post-it note, so we've got real estate is in short supply. So that's just something simple. If you know of anyone that needs help with their taxes, please pass on this organizer. Love, Chris. And the first time we did that, confused a couple of clients, and they filled in that organizer. They weren't sure if they fill in the short organizer or the long organizer. Some of them filled in both organizers, and then every now and then both organizers actually matched. But now in our second and third and fourth years, our clients are well trained to know that they're going to pass this on to someone that needs help. And those post-it notes were really helpful in reminding people why they've got 2 different types of tax organizers. So direct mail to business clients. And again, we can contact the listing companies, and we can find out, we might just want to focus on small businesses between 1 and 5 million with the 20-mile radius of our office. And we can actually help you build that list and get moving on that list. So if you do want new businesses, established businesses, give us a call, because we can help you build that list. But we've got to focus on what are we offering. Let's not talk about how great of a CPA firm we are, because truth be told, most customers wouldn't know a good tax return or a good set of financial statements if it hit them in the head. So we've got to look at what are we offering. What is our freebie? What is our giveaway? What is our value proposition? There are any number of opportunities here. There could be tax planning. You could offer some a QuickBooks review or the accounting setup review, because I know that's a frustration for a lot of people when they get this big tax, they get this big accounting bill at the year end because the accounting firm has had to go in and clean up the mess that they've created or the mess that the business has created over the course of the year. You might be looking at, look, there's a new year, so have you thought about a new payroll processor? Find out what their pain and frustration is. And we know cash flow, we know budgeting, we know profit. They're all areas that accounting firms can help with. So let's look at sending some of those messages. We also have a great letter that promotes an internal controls checklist. And that's a great letter to send to businesses to get our name in front, to differentiate ourselves that we're doing something more than just taxes. And also, if you've got the 57 ways to grow your business, you can be offering that to all business clients. So jump on the website to find out about 57 ways to grow your business. But it's just a turnkey marketing tool that you can insert your name and information on and send off to CreateSpace to publish your own books. And as you can see, that's it there. 57 ways to grow your business, bright ideas for serious entrepreneurs. So the licensing agreement essentially means that you can come in and insert your contact information, insert your About Us, and you send that to createspace.com, and they go ahead and build that for you and promote that and then publish your own book for about $4. So jump on the 2020 website for more information about that. So next thing we want to be doing is looking at how we can get a newsletter to be dripping on people. We think you should be sending a newsletter at least every month, and probably the best firms or the fastest growing firms, they're dropping a letter every 2 weeks. So they send this to clients, prospects, and referral sources, and throughout the newsletter there are just opportunities to link to your website. That's a real important thing. We want to make sure that there are so many opportunities to link to your website so that people can click on to find out more about your service, about your location, about who you are, about different news opportunity or different business building opportunities that are out there. Look at ways in which you can really promote your website within that newsletter. So a lot of links, and let's make sure, or let's try to make sure that those links match up with the content of the newsletter. So if the article is just talking about tax planning, we want to make sure that the link next to that goes directly to your tax services, not just your general website. That's important, so we can link directly to that area so that people can find the information easily. And let's also make sure that we can share the information easily across social media platforms. Once we've got, and I think an electronic newsletter is probably the most cost-effective way of implementing this and ramping it up quickly without you having to do a lot of work. Then the objective becomes to grow the email database. And again, we can help you grow that email database. Looking at, for example, a list of, say, 5,000 business owners with email addresses, that comes in at about $1,500 for 5,000 email names. And they won't be the info at or the support at or help at type addresses. They also won't be the AOL or Gmail addresses. These are people with names going to businesses. So again, once we specify, say, the number of the size of the business and the radius or the location of the business, we're able to go to that listing company and say, can we get a list of 5,000 emails? And 2020 can help you do that. So again, just give us a call and indicate that you'd like to really ramp up your newsletter with 5,000 email addresses. Otherwise, some other things we're seeing people do, we're seeing competitions where it's, hey, let's get as many email addresses as possible, and there's a $50 Amazon gift card or Starbucks card or whatever the incentive is to whoever adds the most email addresses to the database this month. What I would recommend is look at how we can find people to do this for us. We know a great resource that we use is bizactions.com, B-I-Z or Z, B-I-Z, actions.com, and they have a crack team of business journalists, business writers that create the newsletter content for you. So some of them are writing on IRS changes, tax regulations. Others are writing on niche industries, maybe what's happening in construction or what's happening with auto dealers. Others are writing general business building advice, so maybe something, an article on cybersecurity, or maybe an article on bring your own device policies and procedures and whatnot. So there's a huge selection of what you can do, and the best thing about that is if we don't want to personalize the content, particularly during busy season, we just set the system up, add email addresses as they come in, and they go out automatically. And that's a huge relief for us that we don't have to get involved in any of that content creation. I know a lot of firms do personalize it, and a lot of firms will encourage team members to write, but we have them that I know that they're writing during the summer and probably now, and loading it up into the system so it goes automatically. We don't want to have to put pressure on ourselves to write 400 words, 500 words for an article on March 15th. So let's look at ways in which we can either partner with the right people to fire and forget, or let's build the database of articles by encouraging team members to write, perhaps going out to ghostwriters and giving them a topic. So you might go to elance.com and find yourself a business ghostwriter, and then just hit them with topics, and they'll provide you a quote in terms of how much each article costs. Then if you're doing the DIY model, then you've got to find the email newsletter engine, and then also the person that coordinates that. And again, you can see this, the value of having somebody in this dedicated role is growing very quickly, because there's a number of activities that they're going to be doing. Not necessarily time-consuming activities, but activities that need to be done consistently. And if they're not done consistently, we'll lose momentum. So that's the newsletter campaign. Networking. We think that anyone who is having lunch at their desk, A, it's unsanitary, and B, they're missing out on a huge opportunity. Now, when we say lunch, this could be breakfast, it could be coffee, it could be a drink after work, or it could be lunch. We want you to really get out there and take somebody to lunch. Take a client to lunch to say thank you. Take a client to lunch to ask them how business is. Take a referral source to lunch. Take an attorney to lunch, or a banker. We might also be looking at taking a prospect to lunch is a little bit difficult, unless of course we have some sort of relationship with them as well. But let's make sure we encourage everyone to get out to lunch or coffee. And if you're going to lunch with an attorney, maybe you could ask the attorney if they have a younger associate that would be worthwhile coming along to meet one of your younger associates. So look at ways in which you can help other people build their network as well. Now, have a goal per week. If some of you haven't been out to lunch since the dawn of the internet, maybe one lunch a week is a good start. And again, this marketer is the person that schedules the lunches. If it's left to the partners, they won't do it. They'll try and get out 60 minutes of chargeable time, get out one more return, get out two more returns over lunch, then go out to lunch. But we know that, again, the more often you're in front of your clients, your prospective clients, your referral sources, the more opportunity there is. And lunch is a huge, often overlooked aspect of building relationships and of building a business. So let's look at what we can do to get out to lunch more often. But as I said, if that's just a cup of coffee on the way to work, then fantastic. Also maybe look at visiting your clients, dropping in on them, taking some donuts or coffee and muffins, whatever it is, so that you get out in front of your clients more often. And let's not have excuses. As I said, it might be a better use of, you might think it's a better use of your time to review another 3 tax returns, but that's really limiting our growth. And if you've got big growth aspirations, then we've got to get out there and have lunch. Let's also look at some of those networking groups. So Business Networking International, I know a number of firms that have enjoyed a huge amount of business from BNI. One member in New Jersey, he attributes $100,000 worth of new work to BNI alone. Now, a couple of things. You've got to be committed. You've got to be there every Monday or whatever the agreed day and time is, because I believe if you miss 3 or miss 4, you're on notice. And it's difficult for accountants particularly to maintain that commitment during tax season. And that's why we know that BNI is always looking for accountants. So just go to the BNI website, find a chapter, head along to one of their meetings. Now, truth be told, the first group that you head along to, there might not be a fit there. The businesses might, the other members might be a little bit low ends, they might be a little bit narrow-minded. The group, it might not be a terribly professional group. So I have heard some, I wouldn't say horror stories by any means, but sometimes when some folks have gone to a BNI and there's a massage therapist and a florist and an insurance salesperson, and that's just not a good fit for what that firm's trying to do. For some firms it's a good fit, but get along to that first one, and if it's not a great fit, don't immediately discount BNI. It might just be an opportunity for you to go and have a look at another group. So it's important to find the right fit, and if you are going to go for it, then you need to be committed. You can't miss the sessions. You've got to make sure you've got a good elevator pitch for the meetings, and then also you've got to be referring work. Just as much as asking for referrals, you've got to be referring work. So I think that's an area that's often underestimated, is you've also got to be referring, because if you A, don't show up, and B, don't refer, then you're going to get booted from the group. So make sure you do get along to the BNI sessions. The last thing is we're going to look at a killer website, and we want to do the killer website because that's where we're going to lead off with our next webinar when we talk more about search engine optimization, for example. But I want you to go and take a look at your website. Now, is the website your sales engine? Probably not. Is it your marketing engine? To an extent, yes, but I think it's the credibility engine and it's the personality engine. So a current client, a referral source, they might suggest, hey, you should check out Fredericks and Crawford CPAs. We know they're great people and they'll always look after you, and they've looked after us. So give them a call and see if they can help you. 95% of people will then go to Google and plug in Fredericks and Crawford CPAs. So we've got to look at what is our first impression. Is it a good first impression? Or is it a cluttered first impression? The colors are a bit drab. The photo images, the photo stock, is that a bit dated? A lot of websites that we go to, all look the same because they've got it packaged in with their CCH or Thompson suite. So think about that. Is your website going to look like 30% or 40% of all other websites? Look at ways in which we can provide some personality. And, you know, when somebody is dissatisfied with their current CPA, they may just jump on Google and check it out. And so I think we go back to your website and say, is this a good first impression that somebody comes to our website? So here's a checklist. Is it up to date? And let's go back to those partner pictures as well. And I've gone on to a number of websites where the partner pictures are a little bit dated, let's say. Some of the partners have a little bit more hair than in real life or now. So let's go back and have a look at those, and is it up to date? Let's make sure. I go onto some websites and you see last updated in 2008, and so this isn't really going to do much to enhance our first impression that we're proactive, that we're cutting edge. Is the contact info easy to find? Frustrates the hell out of me if I have to go at least more than, if I have to click once to find a phone number or find a way in which I can get in contact with somebody. So on this website, which is an accounting firm in the UK, and it's thewowcompany.com, you can see that their phone number is front and center. Excuse me. Also, you can see that they have a very clear value proposition. Now, a lot of firms, when you come to their website, what you first see is their name in lights. So, Fredericks and Crawford CPAs, Fredericks and Crawford CPAs and Business Advisors, where our name is in lights. But it's interesting, the WOW Company's gone for a slightly different approach, and they're focused on making sure that their value proposition is front and center. And their value proposition is make more profit, pay less tax, and have more fun. And it's interesting, you attract a different type of individual and business client when your value proposition is front and center. A client or a prospective client doesn't have to go in and try and find it out for themselves, reading all the partners' bios where they graduated magna cum laude. They've got 75 years experience combined in all of these different areas, when really, you know what, the client wants to know how to make more profit and pay less tax. And they've thrown in to have a little bit more fun. So go back to the website. Is it the best impression you can possibly make when somebody comes online to see your profile? And a good group to check out would be getnetset.com. Had some really good feedback from some of our members about helping create a personalized website. Also CPA Site Solutions, that they were purchased recently by someone, but I know a lot of members that have them. They're very clean, very fresh. And then also coffeehouseideas.com. That's a nice group, particularly for a customized website. They spend some time finding out about your firm, and it's a very cost-effective way to get a good-looking website up and running. So final considerations, and this, as I said, ties into the next webinar, which is focused on search engine optimization and really leveraging web-based platforms to enhance our reach. So what I'd suggest is do the Google test. Go into google.com and Google tax help in your town or city. Google CPA in your town and city, accountant in your town and city, and find out where your firm is showing up. If you're in a larger area, a larger city, you might, for example, Google tax help Chicago, and then repeat that tax help, and then break it down into some of the more regional areas within that city, just to see where you do show up on the web. Granted, most people, when they do search, will search for the name of the firm because it's a referral, but some people will just Google tax help Corte Madera, tax help San Francisco. Then the other thing I'd like you to do is sign up for Google Analytics. This is a free service, and this will just give you much more information on how people are finding your website. And the information is incredibly valuable, and we'll be talking about Google Analytics in the next webinar. And of all the 500-600 metrics they provide to you, we'll just look at the key ones that you can be paying attention to. So last but not least, we need an action plan for each of these initiatives so everybody knows what page we're on and who's doing what. So for example, here's an action plan for our new homeowners. Our goal, remember what we said in the first couple of slides, is let's have a growth goal and objective, and it's 50 new clients, individual clients, at a return of $600. For us, a $600 return is a good return. So see what that means for you. Some people talk about new homeowners as being one-off, one-time services. Yes, that is true. However, we see this as an opportunity to, although an individual return coming in at $600-700, that has potential to be a good ongoing client. So hopefully we'll be able to pick them up for their wealth management services, etc. And hopefully when their information does come in, we ask key questions, we can identify how we'd be able to help. For example, a Schedule C, for example, with their brokerage statements and asking about those, so we might be able to bring up the conversation of us helping them with financial planning and wealth management. So we can weed out a lot of that riffraff or the lower end tax returns by quoting over the phone and asking questions over the phone, and also specifying that house value as well. But we would love to get 50 new clients at an average return fee of $600. And so here's how we're going to go about it. Here's the time period. We've identified who's responsible for it, how we're going to go about it, getting the list, following the mailing, and here are the resources we can use. So this is just an action plan just to help get these initiatives up and running. So folks, that brings this webinar to an end. It looks like I've answered all those questions that came through. Someone did ask about the marketing intern and how much we need to pay for them. I would get in touch with your local community college or local college and ask them. Different states have different requirements. For example, in California, If they are contributing to the activities of the business, then we do have to pay them at least minimum wage. So just talk to the local colleges or community colleges. Also maybe the local, we call them the employment department, and they'll be able to answer those questions as well. But truth be told, I'm more than happy to pay our interns $10 an hour to get a lot of this grunt work done, because I know that when we come into busy season, marketing will grind to a halt if we don't have somebody in this dedicated role, and if we don't have the system set up now and the processes set up now to do that. But if you do have any questions, please do email us and give us a phone call, and download the slides from the iShape group, and also feel free to post your questions there as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day, and look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, Tax Season Marketing 201. Thank you.